Oh my God. She's so drunk.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life.
Hello and welcome back to Cheers to Fears, where we take horror films and make them into drinking games. We're your two hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Tucker. And today we'll be continuing our Saw marathon with the release of Saw 2, written by Leigh Whannell and Darren Lynn Bousman, who is also the director of the film. Notice how this was not featuring Whannell and Wan like the first Saw movie. This is because Wan and Whannell were focused on their next project, Dead Silence.
Bousman, on the other hand, just wrote a script for another movie called The Desperate, which the movie was eventually remade and turned into the second Saw movie, as the script was so similar to the first one. Shortly following the first Saw movie, Eric Matthews, a well-known detective and local hothead, finds Jigsaw's location and gets ready for his arrest.
However, Matthews and the SWAT team find out that there's another game already started, this one involving Detective Matthews' son. Jigsaw promises that if Matthews can keep his cool, he'll see his son again. But can Matthews hold out for that long? And is Jigsaw even telling Matthews the truth about seeing his son again?
Once again, there's going to be spoilers, so we recommend that you watch the first two Saw movies before viewing this, and even considering watching them with these rules.
Onto the drinking rules for this movie. There's always going to be different criteria for each movie going forward to make things flow a bit more cleanly in terms of what we define as a death. For example, we can't assume a death for Saw anymore, only if there's actual evidence of those deaths. With that being said, we counted 9 deaths in this movie. We also learned in the Saw franchise that oftentimes when someone is presumed dead, that isn't necessarily the case.
Next, we have whenever somebody screams, cries, or yells. This rule is hard to judge for a few reasons. First, whenever there are multiple people screaming, crying, or yelling, we count that as one drink for everybody. Whenever there is generally silence, and then screaming, or crying, or yelling picks up again suddenly, we count it again. For this, we had a total of 33 drinks for the second Saw movie.
You put us in here, you can get us out of here!
Onto the Saw movie franchise rules, which we will continue to use for every upcoming Saw movie. Whenever we see the Billy doll, you must take a drink. We only see 5 Billy dolls littered throughout the movie.
I want to play a game.
The fourth rule is whenever game or jigsaw is said. We encountered a total of 16 instances where game was said, and 7 instances where jigsaw was said, leaving us with a total of 23 drinks for this rule.
Flashbacks, being a common trope in the Saw series, is our next rule. There were 6 flashbacks in this movie, but we still expect this number to increase as the series goes on, as it's only the second film in an 8-series franchise.
Now on to the traps. This includes if someone is caught in a trap that is focused on the survival of the victims, or John Kramer is testing somebody with a game such as Eric Matthews. For this, we had a total of 9 drinks.
Lady, this whole house is a trap.
For the next rule, we had a total of 8 drinks. The rule is, we had to take a drink whenever a tape was played in the movie.
Greetings and welcome.
For this, it can either be a cassette tape or a VHS tape.
Hello, Xavier.
The next rule is that if you see a saw, you must take a sip. There is only 3 saws in the movie, not including the title card they took quite a while to get to.
The last rule that we use throughout the entire franchise is whenever there's jumpy or flashy editing. You will know it when you see it, as it's a staple of the first 7 Saw movies. For this, we had to drink 17 times.
Now on for the movie exclusive rules for Saw 2. We had 3 for this movie, starting with whenever somebody coughs. In this movie, there was 19 instances where we had to drink and were reminded why we should stay home and wear a mask.
The second movie exclusive rule is you take a drink whenever you see the antidote. We only included the times where the antidote was fully shown and not if it was hidden behind a door, for example. We included this because it's an important piece to the victim's escape. This only happened 3 times in the movie, and therefore we had to take 3 drinks as a result.
The final rule we had is that if Eric Matthews freaks out, you must take a drink.
What, can you not hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Say it again.
I think I should go back to Mom's.
Well, then go!
This rule went along with scream, cries, or yells as well, so Eric Matthews gave us 7, which doubled in the end because of the second rule to our game. Thanks, Matthews.
Oh, this shit.
This concludes the drinks for Saw 2, which calculates the total number of drinks for this movie to be 142, which is the equivalent of drinking just under 5 standard 13-ounce cans. That number is based off 30 sips per can scale. This is very similar to Saw 1 with the amount of drinks that we take, but it might get worse before it gets better as the series progresses. So what were your thoughts with the drinking involved with this movie?
I'd say alright. In comparison to the first one, there wasn't really a lot of difference. I guess the tossing things back and forth between the room was basically just replaced with a coughing rule.
Yeah, that's right, because the first few times that I've seen this movie, I didn't even pay attention to the coughing that much.
And it's probably the same thing with tossing things back and forth between the room. You just kind of don't catch on to it.
And actually, that's the same amount of drinks that was when it was thrown across the room.
Oh, actually?
I believe so.
Okay. So, sequence is also the same, where it goes, new trap, tape plays, Billy doll, he says, do you want to play a game, scream, flashy editing, death.
They always have to include that sequence.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the franchise rules, because it's going to be a staple for every single one. And actually, while watching this movie, we probably could have made a rule that it was every time Eric Matthews said Daniel.
Or just Daniel in general, but yeah.
Because he's always yelling for Daniel when he's looking for him.
He's very adamant to find his son, as we find out.
Yep. I mean, rightfully so, I guess. Another thing to add on about Eric Matthews is he's kind of a bad dad. For example, him and Detective Allison Carey had a relationship which caused a divorce between Matthews and his wife. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, he's kind of just a dick to his son.
He's kind of a dick to his son. He's kind of just a dick in general, always freaking out.
So again, talking about Jigsaw's victims and the morals behind it.
Yeah.
Why did he choose the ones that he did?
Again, kind of bad reasoning. Hopefully it's gonna get better later on in the franchise. But so for this one, I think the opening trap was the Venus flytrap. He defined the guys like a rat and a snitch. He was basically a police informant. So he was basically just doing his job, keeping things such as drugs off the streets, crimes off the streets.
Yeah.
And he's getting punished for it. He's doing a better job of preventing crime than Jigsaw, and he's getting punished.
So in saying that, I think the reason Jigsaw goes after him is because of his work with the cops. Mm. Basically, the police is fair game to Jigsaw because essentially they're taking the work away from him. So I'm just curious, what is your favorite trap in Saw 2?
So it's between 2. There's the one I like for the safe, which is basically Jigsaw's whole thing is fight for your survival. So you either have to kill everyone or figure out what the combination is with that. Mm-hmm. He gives you the hints. I think it's really neat, well set up for the most part. Yeah. I also obviously like the Venus flytrap one. Mm-hmm. Just the squeamishness of trying to cut up your own eye. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Personally, I think, and this might be cliche, but I think I'm going to go with the needle pit. So the reason I found that trap so interesting is because of how many days it took to remove and insert the fake needle tips in the needle trap.
Yeah.
It actually took 4 days for them to do that, and part of that is because they dropped a box of real needles in the pit, causing them to empty it completely and redo the entire process.
Yeah.
Another aspect that I think makes the needle pit an interesting trap is based on people's fear of needles.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many people that they're just scared to get any sort of shot. Mm-hmm. So I think that works nicely to dig into that fear for people.
It's also the same thing with the eye one, how a lot of people are really squeamish around the eyes.
Yeah.
For example, I'm the kind of guy that can never put on contacts.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's how I die in a trap. So we have to go back to either the story being good and the traps are bad, or the traps being great and the movie's bad.
Yeah.
This one, it's a fair balance, I feel.
Yeah,
I'd say this one's probably the better one out of a lot of them because the traps are good. Mm-hmm. The plot is also pretty good for the most part. It's a lot more fleshed out. You get to see a lot more of Amanda growing as a character. You get to see a lot more of Matthews growing as a character. Right. So you can see a little bit of that coming into play.
And you can also see Jigsaw as a character kind of evolving.
Yeah.
First film we just saw him laying on the floor, but now we kind of get to know.
Yeah.
We kind of get to know a little bit about him.
Yeah, we actually get to know about who John Kramer is and how he came to be, kind of. And finally, we come to the award ceremony, where we award one not-so-lucky nominee the Darwin Award. This award goes to the character who made the stupidest decision that resulted in them getting killed, somebody else getting killed, or simply resulting in something bad happening that could have easily been avoided. This award can also be given to a character who is just plain dumb. Here are the nominees.
First on the chopping block, we have Addison Corday. There's no surprise why she ends up on the list. She died in probably the easiest trap that you could have escaped in the whole Saw series. And there's nothing more left to say on that.
Second, there's big man Xavier Chavez. He is here for cutting the flesh off the back of his neck before getting the 2 numbers from Amanda and Daniel. Not to mention, he didn't know exactly where the number was, so he probably would have fucked it up and had to recut his neck again.
And finally, we have Gus Colliard for looking through the peephole. There's a pretty good chance that the peephole was facing the wrong way, so he wouldn't have been able to see what was through it anyways. Not to mention, just why would he look through it?
And the winner is Addison Corday. This was the obvious choice for the Darwin Award today, considering she is nearly on every list of horror deaths that could have been avoided, or stupid decisions made in horror movies, or stupid people in horror movies. She is nearly always at the top of any of those lists, but I think she may get topped tomorrow in our opinion.
And with that being said, we hope you enjoyed today's look at Saw 2. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss tomorrow's episode on the 3rd Saw movie, where we will have a lot to unpack on that one. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying
Cheers to fears.
fears.